conflict can be scary for some people because sometimes people cope differently and interact differently to stress and friction and conflict. But not all conflict is bad. And so there's different layers for this conflict that is healthy, but also when it gets higher is actually unhealthy in your team. And so we'll talk about conflict management and some practical tips in this video that you're not going to want to miss.
Conflict is an inevitable part of any team interaction, but how we manage it can make all the difference. Welcome to our discussion on the conflict model. Let's start by understanding what conflict is. It's the clash of interests, values, actions, views, or directions. In a team setting, this can range from minor disagreements to destructive behavior. But remember, conflict is not always a bad thing. In fact, it's quite normal and can be a driving force for improvement. It can stimulate creativity and innovation, leading to better solutions and decisions. This is where our conflict model comes into play. This model provides a framework to understand the severity of conflict, starting from level 1, which is a constructive disagreement, to level 5, which represents destructive conflict. The goal is to manage and de-escalate conflict and determine whether intervention is necessary. Let's now delve deeper into the labyrinth of conflict, specifically the 5 levels of conflict as outlined by Lissa Adkins. Understanding these levels can help you better navigate through conflicts, prevent escalation, and turn them into opportunities for growth and improvement. Level 1 is problem to solve. At this stage, team members understand and appreciate their differences. They focus on finding a solution rather than dwelling on the conflict itself. This level is constructive and can often lead to innovation and improvement. Moving on to level 2, we have disagreement. Here, emotions start to come into play. It's crucial at this stage to clarify each party's positions and understand the root cause of the disagreement. Remember, it's not about who's right or wrong, but about finding a common ground. Level 3 is the contest. At this point, winning the argument becomes the main goal. It's easy to lose sight of the real objective here, which is to find a solution that benefits the team. It's important to diffuse the situation and bring the focus back to the problem at hand. Level 4 is the crusade. Team members believe the people on the other side of the issues will not change. They may believe the only option is to remove the others from the team or get removed from the team themselves. Factions become entrenched and can even solidify into a pseudo-organizational structure within the team. Identifying with a faction can overshadow identifying with the team as a whole, so the team's identity gets trounced. People and positions are seen as one, opening up people to attack for their affiliations rather than their ideas. These attacks come in the form of language rife with ideology and principles, which becomes the focus of conversation rather than specific issues and facts. The overall attitude is righteous and punitive. And last, level 5 is World War. Destroy is the word that describes this level. It's not enough that one wins, others must lose. We must make sure this horrible situation does not happen. Only one option at level 5 exists: to separate the team members so that they don't hurt one another. No constructive outcome can be had.
I want to thank everybody for making it this far in the video. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like this video. Continues more content going forward. Now, let's get back into the topic.
In our previous segment, we defined conflict and introduced a model to understand its various levels. Now let's take a moment to see how this model applies to real life. Let's imagine a scenario in a software development team where 2 members have different views on how to implement a new feature. This disagreement is a level 1 conflict, a constructive disagreement that can foster innovation and improvement. But if left unchecked, it can escalate to a level 2 where emotions come into play and the team members start to take things personally. If this conflict continues to escalate, it can potentially reach level 5, becoming destructive and damaging the team's morale and productivity. Understanding the severity and potential of conflict escalation is crucial in determining how to address it. By applying our conflict model to real-life scenarios, we can better understand its practicality and importance. Navigating through conflict as a leader or Scrum master doesn't have to be a daunting task. Let's break it down into manageable steps. Step 1, the identification phase. Here, we determine the level of conflict that we're dealing with. Imagine a scale from 1 to 5. Level 1 is where we have constructive disagreement. This is healthy and promotes growth. It's when we challenge each other's ideas, leading to innovative solutions. Now, on the opposite end, at level 5, we have destructive conflict. This is when disagreements become personal and damage team morale. It's crucial to identify where on the scale our conflict lies, as this will guide our approach to resolution. Step 2 is all about de-escalation. Now that you've identified the level of conflict, it's time to cool things down. It's like applying a soothing aloe vera to a burn. De-escalation might involve taking a break, having a calm discussion, or finding common ground. The aim here is to reduce the intensity of the conflict, making it easier to manage. Step 3 is determining if intervention is necessary. Here's where we assess whether the team can navigate the conflict on their own or if they need a helping hand. Sometimes a little nudge in the right direction can help the team find a resolution, but in more severe cases, a coach or a team leader might need to step in and mediate. Remember, intervention isn't a sign of failure, but rather a proactive step towards resolution. Lastly, we have the navigation phase. This is where the team, or the coach, if intervention was necessary, works towards resolving the conflict. It might involve open discussions, compromise, or even implementing new team strategies. The goal here is to transform the conflict into a learning opportunity, fostering growth and unity within the team. Remember, the key to successfully navigating conflict is understanding its nature and taking the necessary steps to manage it. Let's see how we can apply these concepts as team members. The steps we've discussed are not just theoretical, but practically applicable in our everyday team interactions. Open communication is the cornerstone of any successful conflict resolution. It's about expressing your views without aggression, and equally, it's about active listening, understanding, and respecting differing viewpoints. Empathy is another key ingredient. Put yourself in your team member's shoes. Try to understand their perspective. This doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but understanding it can help diffuse tension and lead to a resolution that everyone can live with. Remember, successfully navigating conflict within your team doesn't just resolve the issue at hand, it can also strengthen relationships. It builds trust, fosters understanding, and enhances team performance. It turns conflict from a potential stumbling block into a stepping stone for growth and development. And there you have it. With the conflict model and these steps, you're now equipped to navigate any conflict that arises within your team. Remember, conflict isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's how we handle it that truly matters.
So now let's look at these 5 layers of healthy conflict and how you can use it within your team to making sure you're identifying these levels, and then you're also de-escalating it back down to the lower levels. So very important as you're going through and you're identifying this within your team. So this is actually created from another Agile coach. Her name is Lisa Atkins. This is not my work. But this is, I think, is really, this is for me, it's important to identify it myself, but also this is what I communicate to my teams to say, if we get into level 2 or level 3, then we need to de-escalate this. We need to take ownership ourselves, right? And if I'm involved, I'm going to take a step towards the right direction and making sure we get back to level 1. And so level 1 is something that we all need in our teams to be successful, because level 1 is how we come up with good ideas. We challenge each other, we have different perspectives, and then we all have to come to a compromise sometimes to go forward. And so that's what level 1 is really about in a nutshell, is that it's just normal friction, right? People have misunderstandings, different perspectives and backgrounds, and it might feel a little nerve-wracking or a little anxious at the beginning because you're kind of getting to know each other, but that has to happen in a professional way to making sure your team is delivering the best product in the fastest time. Then when we go to level 2, this is where, sticking at level 1, to keep in mind that let's use data, right? Not subjective perspectives. Using data is helpful to stay in that level, especially when you have different perspectives. Level 2 is disagreement, right? There's maybe a little bit more friction than anticipated. Sometimes you're not able to come to a full agreement. Sometimes people could be passive, and meaning that, yeah, we'll just do that. It doesn't matter to me, but they really wanted something else. So that's kind of where this level 2 comes into here, where people start to distance from each other, start protecting themselves a little bit, and they might be chatting to each other offline in smaller venues or smaller chat rooms, just to kind of get perspective. And it turns a little bit to where some of the words might get quote unquote sugar coated, or it maybe a little bit. And this is where that little nastiness or that hostileness gets maybe sugar coated, right? So maybe the tone of someone's voice is not what they mean to you, like, oh yeah, we're always on time, right? Things like that, or they are always on time. So that's important to making sure that we are making sure that we identify these types of levels, and then also keeping in mind that this also means protecting ourselves. So maybe they won't share things or share their true opinions at different meetings or demos or backlog refinement, and that can hurt, right? Because they're just protecting themselves. And then again, the facts maybe be skewed in this level, right? Maybe facts are skewed to their interpretation. So important if you identify level 2. Now go to level 3, contest. So the aim is to win, right? I'm right, you're wrong. That's kind of where this situation comes into play with maybe team members or teammates. And so this is where people begin to align each other with different people, right? So they kind of join little factions, you can say. And also emotional tools used to win one's position. So you're always against maybe the other faction, other team member. And again, over realizations come to play. So they're always doing something, you're always this, which is not always true, right? So really important when you see level 3 contest, level 4 crusade. This is where it gets, again, a little more hostile, where now it's the other side, right? And also what I mean the other side is that if you're joining that group, like it's them against you, right? It's two factions against each other. And so keep in mind that one's personal opinions from that group might get removed with who they affiliate with. So things like that happen. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit nastier, a little more friction. And factions are seen at once. That's seen as a whole person, a whole team, even if that person has their own opinions. And then again, these things might take in the form of language, right? So language might get more hostile as well. And then the overall attitude is righteous and punitive. So things are starting to change here, level 4, because the next step is level 5, which is world war. This is where it's not enough that one wins, others must lose, right? So it's not about I won. It's like I won and I want them to lose and I want them to feel better, or whatever their objective is. And so it really gets bad here, hostile. The only way that when you get to here, it's too late. You need to separate these team members. No constructive discussions and feedback can be had. And so keeping in mind, if you get here, it's too late. You got to separate and you got to move on. So remember, de-escalating it when you're identifying these things is really important as a leader, but also you should present this to the team to making sure they understand they can de-escalate it themselves. So why is this important? Why do I care? Well, high-functioning, high-performing teams need to take off the stress of this friction. Otherwise, you're thinking about this and you're spending time on thinking, I'm going to win this person, right? How am I going to do that? Versus what is the goals of the business? What are the goals of this product? So if you go, remember too, from Patrick Lencioni, the 5 dysfunctions of a team, you can see here. And so I know there's a video I cover this as well. In the portion of the video I cover this is that where this impacts is level 1 and level 2, right? If you can't trust someone, right? Fear of conflict, these two, then your team is going to break it down. And so this is where these conflicts, resolving them, helps you get that foundation that you need to have a high-performing team. And this is another framework by another renowned coach and psychologist that this is what you need to do to remove so that the team can pay attention to the work itself. So hope that helped everybody. If you like this video, please subscribe. Like this video. If you want any more references, let me know. I'll leave some in the description below. If you want some templates or checklists, I can also include that too. Appreciate everyone joining today. I'll see you in the next video.